What party starting advice would you give to 19-year-old Darren?
Don't put your red hair up so high with mousse and hairspray just so you can look like Bart Simpson. Remember that joke? I'd be like, I look like Bart Simpson, and here's the face. It'll get a lot of laughs, but it won't get a lot of ladies.
Pocket Party Podcast. It's my favorite podcast. The Pocket Party Podcast. It's my favorite.
She's like, you're free to go. My wife is even-tempered. She's always mad. My wife is, let me tell you this, my wife is good in bed. She stays on her side. Oh, some nights she's real good in bed. She's way over there. There's so much room in the bed, I can make those bed angels. This is how we do it. Feels good, right? When you get all this is how we do. You start taking those extra pillows, stacking them up in between you. You know what I'm talking about? You ever build that pillow? I'm gonna build a pillow wall and make my wife pay for it. Oh, what's that, honey? Oh, yeah, the pillow wall just got 10 feet higher. Take some neck pillows and put them at the top. You guys know what neck pillows are, right? Those neck pillows. People, when they travel, they fly, carry those neck pillows. I don't think they're that good. You'll buy them once, and then you're like, you'll get your, well, I bought it, I got to use it. Then you realize it's only comfortable during takeoff, right? You're like, oh, it's like I'm home in bed. The moment the plane evens out, wow, I'm staring at my own crotch. This is the opposite of what I thought it was going to be. This is quite uncomfortable. This is. You know, I sometimes will Google stuff for my podcast. Pocket Party Podcast. Pocket Party. And I had to plug myself, so yeah, I'll Google stuff, and I'm like, I figured, like, you know, what's a more comfortable way than having a neck pillow? And some people, they recommend you take off your belt, and then you secure your head to the headrest. You like that? Are there people doing this, right? Are they on our skyways and buses around America? Just like, you're just like. You know, you don't want to disturb anybody with your snoring, so you put like a red ball in your mouth. You're already on the plane, people are walking by you. I don't know. What is this, 50 Shades of Greyhound?
Oh, yeah. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to see what that looked like, go to my YouTube channel. Check it out, Darren Carter YouTube channel, and you will see that video. Maybe show a friend or relative or share it if you want to share it. I want to say thank you to everybody giving me the great reviews on iTunes. You know, that's the number one way that these podcasts get out there is through iTunes, and the more ratings and reviews, it really helps us out. And don't forget, we got that Pocket Party Podcast Facebook group. So just go to Facebook, search Pocket Party Podcast, and join the group. I know I'm giving you guys a lot to do. Go to my YouTube channel. Join the Facebook group. Please give this podcast some ratings and a review. That's my favorite thing right there, because that really lets us know. It keeps me motivated, because I'm like, oh, cool, another review. People are actually listening. This is working. And I mean, I know they're listening, but you know what I mean. It's like, no matter what you're doing in life, you like to get a little positive feedback, right? And this is one of the most recent review from Fast and Furious George, which is kind of cool because it's like a combination of Curious George and the Fast and the Furious. It says, the great thing about this podcast is that the conversations are unforced and natural, tipping between hilarious, serious, and poignant without any sense of Carter having to steer the dialogue in any direction. He's a natural interviewer, and it's great because of his background as a comic. You get to sit in on conversations with fellow comedians who share insight on the craft and their life. Always a great listen, never boring. Thank God. I love it. Shout out right now to Mike Bagak. One of the hardest working comics in the entire world. Listen to the Party Starter. You know it, baby. Rems writes, thank you, Darren Carter. Love the positivity and fun and interesting stories. Keep bringing the great guests. My only request is for you to double the fun and release 2 podcasts weekly. One is not enough. Is it? I don't know. I might do that. I might put out 2 a week if the demand is high enough. I don't know what you're thinking, but we'll see. Thank you guys so much. As you know, recently, what did we have recently? We had Let's Be Strippers. That was last week. That was a great podcast, man. That was really fun. A lot of fun. With my buddy who moved to Omaha. He was from Omaha, and he and his buddy were like, let's go to let's be strippers on the edge of town, like 30 miles away, make some money and see how it works out. And there was a building, and then if you went right, it was female dancers. If you went left, it was male dancers. And the name of the club is called Lipsticks and Dipsticks. There you go. It was great, man. That was a really, really good podcast. Really a lot of fun. The week before that was episode number 20, Brian Swinehart, a wonderful, kick-ass, cool comedian. He's like, hey, Darren. I met him years ago. He was a waiter at Bob's Big Boy, and he gave me a VHS tape. And he's like, hey, because I guess a lot of the staff had recognized me and from, TV and stuff. And he was like, hey, can you watch my tape and tell me what you think? And I'm like, you know what? This guy, he looks like he just fell off a turnip truck. I'll help him out. And yeah, man, we became friends. And he went on to become like stand-in work for Matthew McConaughey and Paul Walker and body doubling for people and all that good stuff. And then he unfortunately got a couple of his fingers sliced off July 4th weekend. But he's okay. It's just where the nails are. And he told me something funny. He goes, yeah, a lot of people sent me messages of positivity, and it sucked because it hurt to reply. I was like, damn. All right. So and he has a goal that he wants to accomplish, and he tells us all about it and what he's going to do on it. It was great. It was a great podcast. Before that, episode 19. Oh man, we went deep on that one. A couple guys talked about having abusive fathers, cocaine addiction, dating on Bumble, living the dream, and more, and what they're trying to do in L.A. We talked to old school comedian. You may or may not know him. His name is Denny Johnston. He won the L.A. Laugh Off, beating people like Richard Jenny and Kevin Nealon. I mean, all these big people. He was Steve Martin used to open for him. He tells what it was like doing comedy back in the 70s, the whole Comedy Store scene, if you're into that. Really good stuff. Anyways, don't want to hold you guys up. If you're into October 4th, I'll be at the Veterans Memorial Hall in Solvang, California, October 4th. October 19th and 20th, I'll be at the Dead Crow in North Carolina. November 8th, 9th, and 10th, I'll be in Reno. 23rd and 24th, I'm coming back to Fresno. I'll be in Clovis at Dicicco's, Friday and Saturday after Thanksgiving. Last date is December 14th, 15th, and 16th. I'll be at Tommy T's in Sacramento. Guys, want to keep in touch? Facebook is where you can find me on the Pocket Party Podcast group. Twitter at Darren Carter. Instagram, official Darren Carter. I'm on everything that you guys need to, whatever social media you're into, find me on there. The only one I don't do is those dating apps. You'll never find me on those. Why would I be on those? But yes, you can find me on that other good stuff. Anyways, you guys are awesome. I want to thank you all for sharing the word and spreading the podcast. Spreading the. When I used to have a lot of red hair, I'd be like, "Spread the red, man." At the end of my set, I'd say, "Spread the red," which is always fun. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Let's get into it right here, right now.
Everybody listen to Darren Carter. We all know that he's a party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, listen to our Pocket Party. Pocket Party.
Everybody listen to Darren Carter. Yeah. We all know he's the party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, listen to a pocket party. Pocket party. Darren.
And we're back. I am very excited to have today's guest on. He's a fellow ginger from across the world, across the pond. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Frank Cronin. How you feeling today, Frank?
Pretty good, pretty great. Thank you for having me on, Darren. I've been watching you for years, so this is a privilege, dude. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, yes. Frank is awesome. He's from Ireland. I saw him on stage one night talking about being in the army, the Irish army, and I was like, my God, what a fascinating, I don't know. And then the more I got to know you, well, number one, you're like the nicest guy I know. I mean, well, I know so many nice guys, but you're in the top. You're definitely up there.
There's a few people listening to this podcast right now saying they thought they were the nicest guy
I know,
you knew.
exactly. So. But you're nice, like. Whatever, enough of that. Like, but you're like really nice. Like some guys are nice, but then they no, you're just a great going guy. Like one time I gave you you're so good with like social media stuff, and I go, dude, thank you for teaching me how to get that app. I downloaded it. Now my life's turned around. By the way, that app is called InShot, and it enables you to resize videos and pictures and add like text to the video. And then I kept thanking you. And then you were like, Darren, I got to be honest. I don't think it was me that gave you that. I don't think it was me that gave you that app. It might have been somebody else, but I'll take the credit. But thank you. But it wasn't me. But I'm like, I swear to God, I thought it was you. But yeah.
Dude. Well, here your social media is taking off. Congrats on that. You're making a move, as they say in Hollywood.
I'm making a move, man. I just, you know what? I saw. Somebody said a great thing to me once. They said, have as much fun off stage, doing something that you do on stage, and that's when it'll really take off.
Yeah, people start to pay attention then.
Yes.
Right? That's the reality.
When you can find that thing that's like off stage, it's like related to your comedy that's online.
Yeah.
Man. Okay. Frank, I'm gonna you guys, if I don't get to all of these topics, don't trip out, okay? Because I would love to. Will you come back on?
I'm coming back. This is a trilogy.
Yes,
Darren.
a trilogy.
Not only is it two, but we're going to come back for a third.
Oh,
we're going to run this into the ground. No one's going to want to hear
You're
going to
get sick of Frank the Irish guy.
Starts off relatively enthusiastic.
That's right. He's the new Dean Larratt.
Did you have Dean on?
I love Dean. He's been on like 4 times now. But it's great, though. People love Dean. He's got the best stories.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Cool. Dean the chiropractor.
Yeah, that goes out to you. Shout out to Rems. Rems is like, when's Dean coming back on? And then by the 4th time, really, Dean again? It's like, F you, Rems.
How many
Just
episodes you got on this?
I believe this is episode 22.
Wow.
Yeah.
Churning them out.
I am.
This is exciting, dude. Isn't it weird how we're just taking over social media?
It's great. Yeah, we're taking over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
At the lower end.
me, you, Adam Carolla, Joe Rogan. We're up there, buddy.
It's top 5.
But I'm going to tell you about Frank. Frank, we're going to get to some of these points, and we may or may not get to him today, but he'll be back for the trilogy. Cool. Okay, he was in the Irish Army. He was in the Army. He had a recording studio for how many years?
About 9 years.
9 years. He lived in a tent for a year. He lived. He owned 2 bars in Mexico. He was punched by a cop as a kid. He was arrested in Mexico, I guess, to shake him down for money. He's a wonderful stand-up comic. He travels whenever he wants to. He does these giant, big shows, opening up for big stars. He has a series on AT&T.
Yeah, it just came out, actually. Episode 4 is out today, I think.
That's cool. Where can we see that?
Facebook Watch. It's called Starter Pack. That's pretty cool. For me, that's my biggest move so far.
That's
so
great.
I'm happy about that.
It's great because it used to be like, NBC, ABC, CBS was like the big deal, and then Fox came along, and then some of these other like UPN, and then it went to cable or whatever. I probably have the order wrong, but now it's like it's all the same thing, man. Netflix, television, Hulu.
Yeah, and they're pumping money into it. So what they used to put into Netflix or into cable, now they put into Netflix, and now they're putting it into online like Facebook. And I mean, Facebook is where they already have a captive audience.
Totally.
So it's very easy for them to scale up like Netflix.
Have you been watching those dry bar comedy videos?
No.
Have you seen them? They pop up on your feed like shout outs to Brad Upton, a 60-something white guy from Seattle who's like, he's like our Kevin Hart. No, he's like, he's blowing up. Like this video, the stand-up video that he did, it has like 61 million views on Facebook.
Dude, if you actually, you can, with 3 minutes of something that's in the zeitgeist, like something that's in the moment, you can perhaps launch a career with a 3-minute clip from a live stand-up show. Isn't that crazy? That's happened a few times now.
Oh, something that's happened. Okay, so we need to like wear some Nikes and walk into like an In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah.
And what else is happening right now?
Yeah. You could
give
that.
a shout out to Aretha Franklin. That's already old news. You got to do something that's right now. But you're right though. Something that's happening like that day or that 2 days.
Yeah. Something probably annoyingly. It would have to be probably political, but
yes.
very funny.
I'm not going to ever do
in
that.
90 seconds, and then all of a sudden you're either the left's or the right's baby, and you're done.
Oh man, I would not want that world.
Yeah,
I would want that world. I would not want that world. Oh my gosh. But yeah, forget the political. You're right though. That's but I want to. That's why I like this Pocket Party podcast because I like to give people a vacation from all that BS that's out there, man.
That's what I like about this podcast. You know, it's loosey goosey.
It's loosey goosey. And the last thing that we're going to get to a lot more, but okay. So what drew me to you was like, you had this video series where you would do like these podcasts and put them on YouTube, and I would watch these, and I was fascinated because you live a life completely the opposite of mine. Like, I mean. It's so funny. My friend uses this phrase, indoor cats and outdoor cats. You're definitely an outdoor cat.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing stuff that I'm like, I would never do that. Yeah. Some of the stuff like this, even this isn't that dangerous or bad, but it's like crazy. Like you're going to, you one of your next goals that you want to do is walk from San Francisco to Los Angeles.
Yeah. It's about a marathon a day, and then sleep under the stars and perform comedy at night.
See, now that sounds almost doable for me. Like that's not like
you could do it.
It's not like
here's the crazy thing.
Yeah, it's not like
anyone could do it.
Anyone could do it.
And anyone could do it. It's whether they would want to do it or
that's
what
true.
would be the sense.
That's
of
like the
reward
closest thing I would. Like I wouldn't go in like cave diving or skydiving or
walking.
Yeah, walking. I can handle walking.
I've seen you run, for God's sake.
I could walk and do stand up. Okay, but then even say, do you wear contact lenses?
No.
See, right there, that's my big thing. When people are like, we went camping, I'm like, where do I wash my hands and take my contacts out at night?
No, well, that's true. The conditioning, though, probably comes from the Irish Army. So I would have...
Tell me about that. Can we start with the Army?
Yeah. So school finished up. I was 18. I did all right in school, but I wasn't... I didn't want to hit the books again. So I didn't want to go to university, which is what everyone was doing. And I had another friend, Jeff Healy, and we're sitting on a wall outside the local church, thinking about what to do some Sunday. What are we going to do with the rest of our lives? And he just goes, well, why don't we join the Army? And then this guy pulls up Miles Mooney on a big motorbike. He's in the Army. He takes us out to the base at about 110,000 miles an hour on his motorbike. And we associated that adrenaline with the Army. And that was it, man. So we signed up to the Irish Army. He's still in there. I think he's coming up on 20 years. I did 7, I think. And it was insane, man. It's like an adventure camp in Ireland because we don't go to war, but we're very highly trained. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of emotional and physical abuse, I would say. I said it with kind of like it's all geared towards making you able to respond under a lot of pressure. So, I
wonder how it's different than the American Army. Do you have an idea
less likely to have to look someone in the eyes as you stab them through the heart. In the Irish Army, it's more of we peacekeep with the United Nations.
Oh.
So when we go overseas... Say the Irish Army, in the American Army you would go maybe into a war zone. The Irish Army would come in after the war's over and try and rehabilitate the country as part of the United Nations or something like that. So we're kind of like your reserves, I think, with a little less of a budget. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we have the same firepower as the American Girl Scouts, pretty much. Yeah, but it's a cool trip, man. You know, the hardest thing I think about the Army was. When you're in there, they train you up, but it's so hard. The training's so intense. A lot of screaming, shouting, a lot of mileage, and changing your contacts late at night and all that kind of stuff in the darkness, and not washing your hands. But the hardest thing about it is just the deceleration. Once you're finished your training, there's not as much to do. So because I didn't have much to do, man, and I had a pretty good wage, I started thinking of how can I use my money from the Army, to build a business. So I opened that recording studio because we would do 24 hours on and then we'd have 48 hours off. So you'd be awake for 24 hours. I was in the fire service.
Oh, you said awake?
Awake, yeah.
Awake for 24 hours.
Well, just the unit, they call it a unit where you work in the Army. The unit I was in was called the Irish Air Corps Fire Service. So we're waiting for planes to crash, and they don't crash as often as we'd like, you know.
Damn.
Nah, it's a joke. We did have one helicopter crash while I was there.
Wow.
We were down. I'll tell you that story. So we're doing a training exercise, and all the top brass are there, and they're showing us this new piece of equipment, and they're saying, you know, you got to be ready at any point. Anything could happen, and we have to be ready at all times. And we're all down there with the fire engines and so on and so forth, putting out fires. And then all of a sudden, this call comes in over the radio that there's a helicopter that's just crashed in a field next to the aerodrome. So we all jump in to the cars, and we all think, because we're new on the job, that, oh, this is how they train you, you see. They pretend it's not going to be a call-out, and then they do a call-out when you're training. So we all jump into the cars.
Thinking it's simulation or
thinking
something?
Thinking it's a simulation.
Yeah.
We get there, there's a we get as close as we can. They fire us the coordinates. We drive the fire engines like they're robbed down to the edge of the airfield, and then hop over this fence. There's other guys cutting down the fence with cement chainsaws. We're rolling out hoses through like cornfields that are about, it would probably be a wheat field in America, about 3 foot tall, and we're trying to run in this heavy fire gear out to this helicopter that we can just see the propeller sticking up from. And as we get closer to the helicopter, these two pilots walk towards us through the cornfield, and they're just dazed out of it. And I remember just thinking, wow, this is a really real simulation. You know what I mean?
You're starting to think this is. Did you think, is this real, or these guys are really good? They really go all out on this budget. I was thinking,
Irish Army, these guys should be in Hollywood. These guys are very good.
Yeah.
And so we get out there and we start blasting this helicopter with this foam. It's called aqueous film-forming foam. It's like a suds, basically, that separates the oxygen in the atmosphere from the avgas, which is aviation gas, which is super flammable. And it was like 30 degrees, and there's hot engine parts around, so it could go up, you know. But yeah, we were all exhausted because of the heat running through the cornfields. And then I think it wasn't until about 20 minutes in we realized, oh, wow, this wasn't a simulation. 2 poor pilots crashed. Thankfully, they both got out alive. And yeah, that's that story. Cool one, right?
Wow, that was a great story.
Yeah.
Wow, that's, man. Especially when you're new to it, you're like, this is okay, we're new. Because I would be thinking, aren't they going to let the more experienced people take over, and we'll just kind of sit on the sidelines and see how they do it? But
Yeah.
no, you guys are like, let's go.
That's the weird thing. I'll give it for anybody who was in the army or is in the army or thinking about joining the army. The crazy thing about the army is they give you massive amounts of responsibility very young. So by the time I was, 21, you've lived a huge life where you're super accountable for all your actions, and your days are very full. So I would say that the army was very good for me, because I was, I didn't want to hit the books. I wasn't exactly very focused as a kid. But the lads that I went into the army with came out with an ability to schedule their days, fill their days to the max, man, and they push you so hard physically in terms of, they'll have you with a weighted pack, 25 kilograms, doing a marathon over mountains at night, you know? So you figure out almost the limits of what you can fit into a day, the limits of what you can do physically.
Yeah.
The only thing maybe they're a little shorter on is the academic side of things, but if you decide, to pursue certain careers, you'll do a lot of academics in the army too. But dude, I think that really matured me, because I started understanding, accountability, responsibility, because there's no excuses in the army. If someone says, get up that hill in 5 minutes, and it's never been done before, you have to somehow figure out how to do it. Otherwise, the abuse, verbal and torment that you'll have to put up with when you get there.
So I can see why that adrenaline rush would be like, you're doing that. You're, like you said, every minute's accounted for when it's time to be accounted for. And physically do this and do that, and you got to do this. And then you're like, okay, I know how to schedule my days. I know how to and then when you go to civilian life, you're like, what did I do today? I posted 2 tweets.
Yeah.
I'm looking for stage time, but all the comedy clubs are, what the fuck? It's got to drive you nuts in a sense. You can, unless you figure something out.
Oh man. So here's, for example, just to wax on that, right, is, we'll get back to this, but I went to Africa with the United Nations, Liberia, West Africa. It was a peace enforcing mission. And after that, I got a cadetship, right, which is basically you get promoted in the army. You get made into an officer, And I had waited years for any sort of promotion, you know. It didn't look like it was going to happen. And the training for the cadetship is pretty much altogether, it's 21 months altogether. It's like 18 months plus 6 months. And you learn, your days are, you know, filled, 16-hour days. And you're generally running everywhere for over a year and a half to try and just get things done. Mm-hmm. So if you're out on patrol late at night doing a fake patrol, you know, practicing your patrolling skills, you probably have notes in your hand and you're learning like your notes for the test in the morning at 7 o'clock. It's insane. Wow. And that goes on for so long. At the end of that cadetship in the Irish Army, I decided, I've done it. I felt like, I've done that. I've proven to myself I can do that. I don't really want to stay in the Army the rest of my life. And then I got out. I left. I paid, I think it was $18,000 or thereabouts to get out. And I remember just the deceleration, man, was insane. I had never had so much brain activity going to waste because you were operating at such a high speed and everything was intense. And then I'm just sitting at home and the walls are closing in on me and there's nothing to do. So I think once you cultivate those neurological pathways in your brain and you're used to operating at a certain level, then it's good to keep them open, you know?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll start to atrophy and you'll get weaker over time.
Has a lot of time gone by where you've kind of like zoned it back down, or are you still kind of amped up? Not at that level, but you.
I mean, yeah. Like for example, like there's no reason for me to walk from San Francisco to LA.
Right.
But I don't know whether it's which came first, the chicken or the egg. Whether I was always wired to be
challenge
overexcited
yourself and go for an adventure.
Yeah, probably more like that, you know.
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up, my dad would take us for walks up the mountains on the weekends. Like almost every Saturday, we'd be hiking for, 2-3 hours, and we'd do like, it wasn't small stuff as well. We would my whole family would walk up the mountains, maybe 3 hours up, and maybe 2 hours back down. Some of the biggest things in Ireland, which aren't really mountains by American standards, but they're big hills, you know.
Yeah. We'd climb Yosemite and then have to be back down for lunch.
Yeah, and then at the top, the reward would be a Mars bar. We'd eat the Mars bar, and that was, that was Snickers bar. Or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we'd come back down, and that was, of course, before computers, and that was our entertainment because, that was the 80s, the 90s. So nobody really had much else to do except family, good conversation, friends, and sports.
Love that. I love that. I miss those days. I mean, I try to keep it now with our family. Like yesterday, we went to the LA County Fair. My wife, my son.
I see you, dude.
Yeah.
That's so admirable.
Yeah.
The time you put in with your kid, dude, playing all those sports and the boxing, he's so cool.
I love it.
Well done.
Thank
That's
you.
so cool, man.
Thank you. It's all me, not even my wife. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding, because I know I know they're gonna hear this. No, but you know what though? No, my wife, she's man. Well, I don't want to talk too much about her right now, but yeah, she's so good. I'll just praise her. She's amazing. She's so good. But you're right though. But as a father, I love hanging with him and teaching him stuff. And like for the summer vacation, I took him to the boxing gym a few times, and it was great because he showed some of the, like when it would get slower there, he's like, I go, show him some of your Taekwondo moves, or, it's like, and it's just neat. I just want to expose him to some of the stuff and kind of show him like what's out there and like, physical training. And, he motivates me as well. Like today I did 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups. That's the thing I'm back on. I'm back on my kick of 100 every day, 100 push-ups and sit-ups. Even if I go to the gym, I still do those 100. If I skip the gym, at least I've done the 100,
Yeah.
And in the summer, he gave himself a challenge. He's like, I'm going to do 200 every day, and there was a couple days he missed. He's like, okay, I'm doing 400. It's like, wow, it's cool.
Wow.
And then we race at the, there's, we'll go to like the park or something and we'll do like what did we do? He raced, we had a family race where we raced, well, they did, my wife and my son, where they raced each other for a mile, things like that. And, I love to do that stuff because I feel like, video games are cool and everything, but we kind of allot time for that. But it's like in the meantime, he's learning piano and guitar. And like I said, we went to the fair yesterday and it was great. We saw a concert and we saw Casey and the Sunshine Band and also Kool and the Gang.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Does he like those bands?
He likes them a little bit. Like he
likes hanging out with his dad.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
He knows it's going to be fun.
But then later on, he'll go and surprise us. Like we went to an 80s concert at the not the Hollywood Bowl, but what's the other one? The Greek Theater. And then the next day he's like, hey, look, and then he did like the bum 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 bum. I'll stop the world and melt with you.
Yeah.
I think he played that song, and he also played the remember this, the Men Without Hats.
Oh, the do.
You can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind, and if your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, they're no friends of mine. Do you remember that song?
I don't.
I know, not the way I sing it. You know that they sing. They spell out the word safety dance. S S S S A A A F F F F E E. Safety dance.
Yeah, dude. I think that's probably, to bring it into the social media side, I think that's one of the strongest things about social media right now.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot of people at the higher end of showbiz showing how they're interacting with their kids.
Yeah, I
Do you
love
know
it.
what I mean? Because that's true example for people. You know, if people are looking to showbiz people, for example, that's probably the most wholesome thing they're gonna see.
I
You
know.
You see Will Smith, Kev Hart, a lot of people doing just great family stuff right now.
I feel like it's really good, man, because, you know, it's very easy in our business just to be, you know, like some guys are like single, which is fine, and just to be like, okay, I need to take care of myself, and but I realize, like, I got lucky, man. I got lucky really early. I've been married 21 years, and I got lucky that I found a great woman as a better half for me, because that's the type of person I am. And, you know, my wife and I have been doing this thing lately where we, you know, like the gratitude list, where you go back and forth and you say things you're thankful for. You'd be surprised how mentally happy that makes you, you know, like, even if you start simple.
Can you go into that? How does it work? What do you do?
Oh, I learned this from I did it when I first moved to LA, because I was really depressed. When I first came to LA, I was like, somebody told me to write down like 5 things that make you happy, even if it's just that day. And then Steve Simone, I did his podcast, and we did it. And it's a thing that, so I always give a shout out to my buddy Steve Simone from Good Times Podcast. But you would just go back and forth and name some things that you're grateful for like for example, I'll start with me. I'm thankful that I'm thankful that they have a thing called podcasting, where I can not just sit around on my thumbs all day until waiting for a show that night. I'm able to create a podcast. I'm able to come and hang out with you, Frank, get to know you better, and put that out there. I'm thankful that I have a car to drive here with, you know. I'm thankful that we have air conditioning. I'm thankful for...
Not here, we don't.
Well, we had it before we turned it on. And I'll be thankful that it comes back on at the end of this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that I was able to afford and have coffee before I came here.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that I have a support group of people who listen to the podcast, who who are involved, who actually give a shit, that when I put something out there, they write me or something. I'm thankful that I have that. I'm thankful that I have.
Brilliant.
I'm thankful that somebody came up with reading glasses, because like right now, without reading glasses, you'd be clear, but definitely like my notes and stuff would be blurry. So I'm
thought it'd
thankful.
be better looking now. Be better.
Yeah.
It'd be easier on the eyes.
Yeah.
Do you know
Real
what-
quick, I got to tell you a quick joke, and I said this on the last one. It's funny because I did this back and forth one time, and I got this, one of the fans, listeners, Rems, he writes, he kind of likes to bust balls, and he goes, I'm thankful I have other podcasts to listen to when you guys get too mushy and positive.
Oh, yeah. Well,
He's just joking, though, but yeah.
Rams, God damn him. Yeah. Here,
Do you have any, do you want,
that's a good thing. I do that gratitude thing too. But
Give us a couple.
Here's an extra. Here's a little one that I like to do is at the traffic lights. Somebody told me this. Every time you get a red light, you change it into a positive by trying to be grateful for one thing. So a red light is a reminder to say thank you for something.
I love that.
So that not only are you diminishing the power of the red light and that frustration, but you're
Yes.
turning it into a positive. How cool is that?
Oh, I love that.
And that
so when I
happens a
see a
lot
red
every
light,
day, yeah.
we stop rather than like, fuck, go. You're just like, you know what? This is a chance to reflect and be like, what am I thankful for?
Yeah, because we're so caught up in trying to catch things that we don't have yet. But like, look, we got light, electricity. We're both well fed, family, friends, doing what we love. God, here, do you know the biggest worry for me is if we actually get to a place where there's endless money and endless notoriety, and we're not happy.
I know.
So
how often does that happen? That's
I've seen it, dude.
And the cliche that would happen with that female singer, I forget her name, but she was like, the cliche was the title of the headline, whatever her name is, millionaire, overdoses, and mansion. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, it just shows you like chasing that isn't really the.
Yeah, once you step into the drug world, it's a tough way out. It's a hard way to get, or a hard thing to get out of. That's why I really like. I know I've referenced them already, but Will Smith and Kevin Hart, what they do is they're always grateful, and they're always talking about improving yourself.
Yes.
And they're not cynical about it. It's
Right.
easy to be cynical.
Yeah.
There's something I was saying line the other day was, the hardest thing about not being cynical is not being cynical about not being cynical. It's so hard, man, because it's just easier to make fun of people.
It is.
But to be positive is a real skill.
It is. It's a real skill, and it's like, and it's funny because I've gone to these kicks where like the 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and I'll post it, and I love it because, you know, some people will like to bust my balls and be like, oh, I did whatever, and they'll make a joke or whatever, and I'm fine with that. Because I also get, you would be surprised the messages that I get and from who these people are that you would be like, really, that person? They'll say, hey man, when I see you do that makes me feel like I need to do something. And how do I start? And what do I do? And I go, dude, here's how you start.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people caught.
Here's how you start. Modified. Just do like push-ups on your knees or something, or just go for a walk around the block.
Yeah, people are attracted mentally and I guess you could say spiritually to people who are trying to make the world a better place, whether they want to admit it or not. So they'll secretly be like, oh, yeah, that's stupid. But then they'll be at home trying to do the push-ups, you know what I mean? You know? Dude, I think it's a natural thing to try and follow someone who is setting a good example. It's
Man,
like
if I get anything out of this podcast is I'm gathering a group of people who are tapping into that part of their brain. Like, you know, people sending me, you know, videos or this or that. Like somebody sent me something that was a man who was I talked about this on the last podcast, but it was in the intro if you guys heard it. But the man who's 99 years old and he walks 6-mile round trip to go see his wife in the hospital.
Wow.
And you know, he was a former Marine, and when he dropped down and started doing push-ups, and it's like 99 years old, and he doesn't need a ride there. He likes to do it, and when he gets closer to the hospital, he gets into it. He starts running. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
He did not look 99.
Yeah,
that's
the thing. He's got that compound interest of good habits.
Yes.
Now, there's people right now who are saying, 100 push-ups, walking 6 miles to your wife, that's all stupid stuff. That's lovey-dovey stuff. Okay. Well, you probably might tap out with depression at 60 and not be physically fit at 90. Or you can build some good habits now, be grateful every day for things at traffic lights, and also be physically fit at 90 and have a life.
Yeah.
You get 30 years of happiness over the person who's cynical and sad and, you know, sitting on the couch.
And you're just
all
helping
day.
people. You know, a friend of mine is doing something amazing. He's ran 5 miles a day for the last I want to say 6 days.
Wow.
And he said he always writes, I'm not a runner. I'm not a runner, but I'm doing this. And I talked to him, and he told me that what happened is his girlfriend, you know, I'm not sure if it's his fiance, but his girlfriend relapsed into alcoholism. Like she's relapsed twice, and this is her third time, and it's gotten really bad. And so they were able to get her into a detox, not even a recovery center. Like they tried putting her at the, you know, one of those recovery centers that, but when she showed up, they said her blood alcohol level's too high. She needs to go to detox. So he thought she did not want to go. So she's in this thing for 7 days. So he's like, you know what, if she's going to do that for something she doesn't want to do for 7 days, I'm going to do something I don't want to do.
Yeah, that's because that's a funny thing that we all do. And I only realized I was doing it this year. Because I have some friends who are struggling with serious addiction, and like who doesn't, right? But I was kind of looking at them as if, oh, for God's sake, could they not get their lives together? But then I can't even give up Coca-Cola. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I gave up Coca-Cola, or I tried for 5 days, and guess what? I couldn't do it. So the reality, the idea that we're capable, or that like we're better than other people. That's all an illusion too, because there's 1,000 things in our own lives, our own individual lives, that we could fix before we should be even looking at anyone else and critiquing them. You know that old saying, you know, he without sin cast the first stone or whatever. Do you want to pause that for a second?
I don't know if I know how to pause this.
Okay. Hey, Laura, how you doing? My roommate just came into the house. I live with Laura Crane. Laura Crane is an actress, and she's very nice. Yeah, she killed her audition.
She killed her audition. Yay.
Hey, well done. I'll give you a high five. We're actually in mid-show, and we can't stop it, so we're going to keep going.
Oh.
Would it be all right if we had another 30 minutes?
Food. Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Can I grab food out of the fridge?
You could do whatever you want in the background. It's perfect.
We'll just
Some
reference it in the podcast.
Yes.
So the noise you're about to hear in the podcast is a girl called Laura Crane rummaging in the fridge after a successful audition.
I love it.
Yeah.
I know. You know, it's funny. I thought I knew how to pause, and then
If
I
you
ended
wa-
up not doing it correctly.
If you want,
but
send
yeah.
me the thing and I'll edit this part out.
Oh
for
no,
you.
that's fine. I like it. So it's real life,
Realistic, yeah.
showing that we're humans that interact with other humans.
Yeah. No, exactly, exactly.
I'm so sorry. I'll just be like 5 minutes.
No problem. Enjoy. Yeah. After you crush an audition, you get hungry, man. I know I do.
Yeah. So are you still out there auditioning?
I am.
In
I am.
Hollywood?
I'm going to step it up even more. You know, my agent gave me. I saw him last week, and he goes, I like the arms. You're in shape. You shaved the head. This is great. He goes, I can start submitting you for cop roles. And I'm like, that kind of motivated me too. Because
Yeah,
even if
man.
you're just full of hot air, just to make me feel good. And I went to the gym and I worked out extra hard that day. And I've been,
Isn't that weird how you start believing in yourself more when you get fit?
yes.
It's almost
absolutely.
like a positivity loop.
Mhm.
You get a little bit of momentum, and the world treats you differently. Like the universe,
Yeah.
people come at you differently when they think you're physically fit. When the cheekbones are protruding a little bit, or you got that deep V.
Yeah. I don't have that yet,
No,
but
me
I'm
neither.
gether there.
I haven't seen that in a few years.
The deep V. But you're right, though. It's like it's something that, oh, man, it's, and another thing that can, I don't want to repeat myself because I already said this on the last podcast, but I'll say it real quickly. If you want to increase your happiness levels and stuff, there's I forget the phrase, but this guy was saying basically to get up and move throughout the day and kind of like shake your ass, like, literally like dance around, like something about your gluteus maximus and your hip flexors, like when you move around, like even setting like little reminders.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We'll
Sure,
do that.
as humans, we're supposed to be hunting and gathering for at least 10 kilometers a day. But all of a sudden now we can live these sedentary lifestyles where we sit around and maybe do 2,000 steps a day. If we really wanted to, we wouldn't have to walk half a mile.
I know. Like when I was at the fair, people, if they really do need the help, that's fine. But I do see some people just thinking it's fun to take those scooters around and not walk. I mean, even the children nowadays, right? Don't they have like those roller tennis shoes?
Yeah, everything that saves time in this world seems to do very well in the economy. So those bird scooters. Speaking of those bird scooters, next year I was just I had a meeting with Bird Scooters. They're going to give me one of those to cross from LA to New York.
They are?
Yeah. Now they only do 20 kilometers at a time, so I have to find a proper charging unit. And I'm going to try and build a production crew around it and make it into some sort of thing.
Wait, say that again. So you're going to go from San Francisco, so you're not going to walk. You're
No,
gonna
I'm
take
walking.
the scooter.
No, so this
Yeah.
year, San
Yeah.
Francisco to LA, and next year I'm in talks right now with Bird's Scooters and some other sponsors, a whiskey company actually, to try and go from LA to New York on one of those electronic scooters.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
That's very cool.
You can come for a leg if you want.
For a leg? Okay.
Yeah.
How many miles does it go?
I don't even know, but I just know I'm going to do it. I'll figure that out on the way.
Wow.
Yeah. But the
Be
biggest
careful out there because those, for some reason, people, no offense to your sponsors, but there's definitely a divisive thing where some people are like, we hate those scooters. So I don't want some jerk to be like, you know how people can be.
Yeah, but I'll be trained up. I'll go
Yeah.
to your boxing gym and I'll be I'll be equipped.
No, I'm just saying you don't want someone to try to be like, I'm going to run this jerk off the road. You know, like.
You definitely have to select the right route.
And have someone behind you, I think, following you in a vehicle that says slow moving.
Yeah, or just surround myself with other people on scooters so they get taken out first.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Like the Hells Angels of scooters.
When did you get into boxing?
You know what? About 3 years ago, I love playing chess. I love physical fitness. I was gonna walk. This is back when I would do like my exercise was very mellow. Like I'd go for these walks and have my I think I had a Fitbit. Not sure. No, I didn't have a Fitbit at the time. But I'd go for these walks, listen to podcasts, go maybe do a few pull-ups at the park. It was really not that good. I remember thinking like, wow, I'm at a time in my life I'm not sweating a lot, like physical, like I'm not even really playing tennis with anybody or basketball. I'm just like walking and maybe jogging a block. That's about it. I really wasn't doing much. I mean, I was doing the bare minimum. I was doing something, but it was just walking. And they had a friend of mine, some guys I knew. They shot a pilot at this local boxing gym that was a couple miles from where I lived. Boxing gym's no longer there, but it was a couple miles from where I lived. And I go, let me go watch this taping. And I was like, I didn't know there was a boxing gym here. This is so cool. So now I knew where the boxing gym was, but I still didn't think that was my world. Well, one day I was walking by the boxing gym, and I saw they had at the very front right when you open the front door, there's at the front desk there was a giant chess set, it's regular chess set, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
and you're big into chess.
I love chess. It's like
Just for anyone who doesn't know, I've seen Darren Carter playing chess backstage just before he goes on stage, and then he'll come back after a set, after he crushes, straight back into king to a7.
Exactly. Yeah. So I see this just chess set, and it was like triple weighted with the vinyl rollaway mat, and I'm like, this is awesome. So I asked the guy, I go, hey, so I come in there and I go, oh, I got a cool boxing gym, and he's like, yeah. And then I was more fascinated with the chess, and I go, oh, I love your chess set. He goes, thanks, man. You want to play a game? It was like 2:00 and it was really mellow.
Yeah.
I go, sure. So I start playing chess. I'm watching these people spar. And I'm like asking questions. And he goes, yeah, come back. And then it was funny because I beat that guy. And that was probably the only time
he made up for it in the ring, though.
Yeah, exactly.
He beat the crap out of you.
Yeah. He's like, that's the last time I let you beat me.
Checkmate.
I can beat only heavyweights on the chess. On the chess.
He's a big fella.
That guy was probably more like my size, but had boxing skills and was in shape.
Were you surprised at how good you could get in boxing? Because that's something I think a lot of people would like to do, is get really good at fighting.
You know what? I found that physical training and fighting is two different things. Because there's guys that are great, excellent at CrossFit. They can do like 30 pull-ups and this and that, and they don't get tired. Yeah. But knowing the skill of just like dipping punches and just by parrying a punch, like somebody throws a punch and you barely move and you just move your hand. And they've expended all this energy, and they're like, "Dah!" Like I remember the first time I got in. By the way, I don't spar that often. I hardly ever spar, so I don't want to like build myself up to
He's
be
got
like
2 black eyes right now. He's like,
yeah, I know. I don't spar.
Absolutely. When I start talking like this, that's when you know they're going to get up there and kick ass. One day at a time, one punch, one day at a time, one round at a time.
But I realized like this one time, this guy was like, "Come on, let's spar." He goes, "I'm not going to punch you back. Your only goal for this round is to try to punch me." And he put on the headgear and the mouthpiece, and I think I hit him once, barely.
wow.
Because he was
3 minutes.
Because we were so able to dodge it, and I was the one that was breathing,
Yeah.
And then now I've learned to like control my breathing, and you got to learn that though.
Right.
That's why most fights in the street only last about a minute. Cause,
Yeah, if someone knows what they're doing, it's over in 10 seconds. Right?
Yeah, because they're like, they're holding their breath. Did you guys learn hand-to-hand combat when you're in the Irish Army? I'm sure you did.
We did within reason. It wasn't that high level. No.
It was more like
No, because we got weapons. So,
that's
so that's
true.
kind of funny. But yeah, we had knives, and we had knives on the end of guns. I mean, just in case we went back in time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, but mainly we would have this is just kind of fun to share. So I'm a weapons instructor, right? From everything from grenades to Browning automatic pistols through automatic rifles, machine guns, up to short-range anti-aircraft weapons. Isn't that cool?
Wow.
Yeah, I can't remember much of it, but if you handed me one, I could blow your head off. But the reason here,
I got level 7 on Fortnite.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it even make sense? I don't know.
But the reason I say that is because you know what you were saying about like showing your kid like fighting and doing all these things and showing them different things. When I was in college, I had they had to write some papers on how physical activity as a child builds your confidence and your social skills to a point where you can interact better as an adult, because you know the parameters. Play is like play and roughhousing is what conditions you to understand the limits between you and people in the world. So when you're out, if somebody who knows how to fight is usually a lot more confident than somebody who doesn't know how to fight. And they won't have to fight. I used to do taekwondo and a bit of sparring.
Yeah.
But I got very close to getting knocked out once or twice, and I remember just thinking, oh, well, maybe I should just not do this, because I was probably concussed on my feet,
Yeah.
It was good though. It was fun. I liked it up until I think I got to the point where it was like, wow, we were getting too big. Everyone was getting too big and strong.
Yeah.
So we get a roundhouse to the back of the head, and it was just like, wow, okay, so this at some point is
Yeah.
probably not for my
Yeah, I remember we used to box like in the neighborhood, like when I was like 12, 13, but none of us had skills. We just had boxing gloves, and we'd say, okay, but not in the face.
Yeah.
And that was just fun, until this one kid came over that was like 3 years older, and then he tried to punch me in the face. I'm like, okay, stop. And he kept like punching.
I remember
and that was like, what the fuck, dude?
Do you remember the first time you were hit in the face?
Yes.
It's funny that I knew you were hitting the face.
Yeah.
But the first time I was hitting the face,
that'd be funny. That'd be a good. Hold that thought. That'd be a funny man on the street thing.
Yeah.
Like just to walk up to people. Do you remember the first time you were in the face? Just to get different people's reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna go out there and do it because I'm not a daredevil like you are. But
yeah. And then say to them, "Isn't it funny how I knew you were hitting the face?" Yeah. A few bruised egos out there.
Because then some people are gonna be like, "No, but you about to remember this? Pow!"
Yeah,
Or, you know, it'd be
oh,
funny.
yeah. I'd be knocked out.
What's your roommate's name?
Laura?
Laura. Come here real quick if you got a second. Do you remember the first time you were hit in the face?
I can't. The first time. I can't remember.
Damn, there's like many.
No, I was hit like literally the other day by this like demon 2.5-year-old that just like he was so mean to me. It was like abusive. But the first time, that was probably my brother. But I'm sure I punched him back or something. You know?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's who you want. Yeah.
What about this? Do you remember ever getting a good shot to the nuts?
Yeah, I've only had that happen to me twice in my life,
Yeah.
and I've successfully avoided. Yeah, it was like being winded. You've got hit in the nuts?
Yeah, I do. The one that I do remember the most was shout out to my buddy Doug Veneer who listens. We've been friends for a long time. He lived in this giant apartment in a Tuesday. Hold that thought though about the getting hit in the face.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
No,
I want to
cool.
circle
We'll come
back to that. I want to circle back to that.
I think the
But-
balls trumps it.
Yeah, but I was he had like this big atrium in his apartment down in San Diego, and I remember we just got done swimming and stuff, and I remember I was in the balcony area looking down in the foray or the whatever it's called, and he goes, Darren, and he had like a slingshot with like a, yeah, and I go, what? And he goes, bam, and it was like, and he let the thing go and it hit me right in the nuts.
Yeah.
And I just, after you've been in like a jacuzzi and a hot shower, your nuts are hanging low. And that shit hurt. I mean, I remember I definitely remember that. But luckily I have a kid after that, so it's all good.
Did you ever have a friend that was able to, he'd stand there and want people to kick him in the nuts?
No, I never had that.
You see them online every now and then, and I
Yeah.
thought it was just like my one weird friend in the whole universe.
Was he Irish?
He was Irish.
I'm picturing like Irish, like, yeah.
But I
Tough
feel like
Irish.
that could have been the first sex change ever performed. Was just like booting that guy in the nuts. But he wanted.
It's like a bootleg sex change.
He wanted it. Yeah. But that was brutal. What was the thing we were supposed to get back to?
Getting punched in the face. Do you remember the first
yeah.
time you were punched in the face?
Okay, so yeah, I'm in school, and
You'd
this
be a great reporter, like when a politician's talking.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to choose this guy. Yeah, I have a question. Do you remember the first time you were punched?
Yeah, just really inappropriate questions.
So anyway, tell me.
But in Ireland, there's I guess a little bit of a culture of fighting in the playground and outside of school. Maybe it's the same here, but I've noticed here when I'm talking to people, there seems to be less people in fights here. Maybe because the repercussions there are guns around.
Yeah,
things could
and
actually
older
escalate.
now this generation
Yeah,
because
and also you guys have a lot more like protein in your diet. So when you guys pack a punch, like it's you put people back in time. Americans hit harder, I think.
well, what about the Fighting Irish? Where'd that come from? The Fighting Irish. I mean, the Irish have a
No. There's a lot of fighting. So I
Yeah.
would say growing up, I personally, not everybody, but I personally and some of my friends would have had 10 fights that you would consider a street fight.
That's
so you're
funny.
walking in.
His record is 10-0.
10-0. Yeah, I lost. I was 10-0 against me. Whatever.
He's 0-10.
Yeah, 0-10 is that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember this guy Richie hit me in the face in school. I was only about 10. And he was like, he must have been getting leathered at home or something because he was a really good fighter.
Ooh, what's that mean, getting leathered?
Oh, just like he must have been having a rough time at home.
Oh,
Good,
yeah.
must have been
Getting
smacked
spanked.
around.
And
Yeah, because he
yeah.
was so good. He was like, he was ducking and diving.
Oh,
10
see, that's
with no
not
training.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
and so that was the first time I ever got hit in the head. And I remember thinking, wow, okay, so you're allowed to do that? And that was the first time.
Yes.
I never knew that you could hit someone in the head. I thought that's something you wouldn't want to do to anybody.
Yeah, you would
This
just.
guy was
Yeah.
very happy doing it.
Yeah, I know. See, that's what I'm saying. There's some people that are built like that. Whatever happened to that kid? Do you have any idea?
He's doing great now. He's in construction, just
That's
breaking blocks with his bare hands, probably.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he must have just had a rougher time at home.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, you're right. It is weird where you're like, hey, I thought that was awful. You know what? That's what I learned when I went to community college. We were talking about boundaries and limits and expectations, and somebody said that, they pointed that out where like during a fight, like you may think like, oh, I'm going to punch you, you're going to punch me. But no, it's not. Some people aren't like that. And besides, in boxing, they say that that's not how it works. Boxing, it's not I punch you, you punch me. It's I hit you and you can't hit me. you don't get to hit me back. I hit you, pa 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 pa. I move around, pa 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 pa. I move around, pa pa pa. Whatever. That's not. We don't just trade punches like rock'em sock'em robot toys. You know.
I also have this theory that there's a certain amount of aggression to go around. Like every human has a certain amount of aggression in their body throughout their life, right?
Yeah.
And that if you learn to fight, that you learn to kind of moderate that aggression. So I actually think people who know how to fight and who have been in a lot of fights growing up are less likely to be aggressive verbally or kind of bullying in the workplace or in life generally later. Because all my friends, there's a group of 7 of us. We were probably the underdogs in the neighborhood, but we took up taekwondo. So there was 7 of us.
That's cool.
Taekwondo. Yeah, it was weird.
The Irish 7.
Yeah, 2 of them ended up black belts trainers, and the others. Yeah, it was a pretty cool group. And then we never got in another fight again. None of us.
That's so cool.
But when 13 to 17, it was brutal in our neighborhood. I remember being chased with a screwdriver and people throwing rocks and wild, man. People jumping out of cars. It's just a wild time.
Wow. There's a couple.
Hello, kids.
Hello, kids. Hello. Oh, my son Austin listens to the podcast. Austin, are you enjoying this one so far? Cool.
Wow. He's responsive. I like that.
Yeah, he is, and he listens, and he does taekwondo also.
Does he?
But he does.
What belt is he now?
Yeah. Am I supposed to say? I don't know. Austin. I'll tell you off mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those black belts like to keep it
see
quiet.
See what I'm pointing at?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's high level.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He after he likes to take his uniform and like turn it inside out when we're walking back to the car because he kind of doesn't want people to know what he knows. You know what I mean?
A secret hero.
Exactly.
All that stuff feeds into your self-image, and once you have a good self-image, then you don't have to tear anyone else's down.
Right. Absolutely.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Build people so they have a good self-image, so that they don't have to impress others with how they operate in the world. You know, it makes you kind of bulletproof to peer pressure and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I had to read a lot of this stuff in college when I was doing very mediocrely. But I was studying psychological studies. It was a fascinating area. That college thing that you wanted to talk about, just for the sake of it, I lived in a tent. I thought.
So what was that like? That was one of my favorite stories that you. What made you want to? Okay, first of all, live in a tent for like a year.
Again, growing up in camping, we didn't have, most Irish families, I should say, comparatively speaking, nobody really had money. But if you didn't have money in Ireland, camping during the summer was a thing to do. Yeah. So we would camp every summer for months at a time, sometimes on our cousin's farm and sometimes in a campsite, depending on, I guess, how the cash flow was that year. Camping was just a very comfortable thing to do. And then I was in the army for a while, so I felt comfortable in the outdoors. And it got to a point where I hadn't finished my degree. And I hate leaving things undone. And the studio was going, the recording studio was going, and the bars were going in Mexico. So I thought, I'll skip back to Ireland now. These are kind of on autopilot. I'll take a bit of a hit, and then I'll get my degree done. Then I realized, damn, I don't have any money to pay the accommodation. So I thought, I like making videos. I like camping. Sounds like a challenge. I'm going to be dead in 60, 80 years. I may as well do it now. So I thought I'll live in a tent, make a little video documentary about it. And lo and behold, as you'd expect, Darren, when you do something just outside the realms of normality, people start paying attention. And then now I'm in Hollywood as a result, I guess.
Wow.
Right? It's a weird...
Yeah.
You do anything outside the norm, and then people have to check it out.
Like,
and when people start checking it out,
and they have to make sure the person's, I would say, like, not crazy, right?
Yeah. That's it.
Because they might check. You hear about so and so, and then but then you see what they're doing, and you're like, that guy's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They knew I wasn't crazy.
But if they knew that, you're like, nope, this is something I'm. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a big debate in Ireland about college fees being too high and accommodation fees being too high. And I didn't know about that, but me moving into the tent became this kind of, it was right in the zeitgeist of a talking point. So it ended up getting on the news, and people from different sides, different political parties, which I won't get into, were starting to use me as a thing. He's taking it upon himself. He's making decisions that improve his life himself. And the other people were saying, well, housing's too high. And so I was right in the right place at the right time with a stupid idea.
When you lived in a tent, did you find yourself your sleeping hours We're different.
Yeah. I would stay out very late because Ireland's kind of a little colder. So I would stay out late. I actually became a better and more studious student because I would stay in the school library studying late at night because there was no distractions and it was warm. And then as soon as they closed, then I'd throw all my stuff on my back and walk back to the tent, which I had hidden in a bush. And
was the tent up all the time, or did you have to like tear it down and hide it?
I found a place that was behind a wall, and so you'd have to be really looking for it to find it.
Yeah.
The only other person who knew where my tent was a local beekeeper who had some illegal bee keeping things right beside my tent, and a fox. There was a fox living about 5 feet from the back of my tent, and we got very well acquainted. And a robin who would often visit the front of my tent and eat the leftovers from my dinner. Yeah. So that was good. It was a cool experience, man. And I think it fed into people's imagination.
Hold the mic.
Fed into people's imagination.
It's feeding into mine. So you'd stay at the library.
Yeah.
Till what time?
Like midnight.
And then would you from there? Would you go to the tent? Or would you go to a bar and try to like?
No, sometimes I'd walk around town and as
like a restaurant or something.
Yeah. Sometimes I'd go to a place called the Roisin Dove, which was a live music venue that would go till 2. That would give me another few hours out. But it all depended what time my class was in the morning. And as the notoriety of the project grew, I'd be walking around town and I'd get talking to people, or sometimes it got ridiculous. At one point, you'd wake up in the tent in the morning and you'd be doing a radio interview, and then someone would call you for a newspaper interview, and then that night I'd be doing a guest appearance at like the medical ball, as I talk through a microphone for a minute or two. It was really cool, man, because you had the naysayers who said, hey, don't do that. That's a stupid thing to do. Don't live in a tent. You're getting, And then you had the other people who come up to you and go, dude, this is so interesting, so cool. I've always thought about doing it. And that kept me going for 7.5 months. Finished my final year of university.
When you would walk back to the tent, were you like kind of make sure people weren't following you to know where the tent was at? Yeah,
initially in the first few days because I was in a worse place. And actually somebody came the third night and stole all my tent pegs while I was in class. So I had to move the tent and buy new tent pegs. Those pricks, I'll never forget them.
Why'd they do that? Just to be a vandal? Just to be a jerk?
Yeah, just because some people, I guess, in life don't want you. They don't like you pushing the boundaries of the paradigm they exist in. So they don't want you to be.
Who does he think he is?
Yeah.
A tent.
It's just yeah.
They didn't steal the tent. They just took the pegs.
Yeah, but do you know what's really funny? 4 weeks later, I was doing a one-man show. Not 4 weeks later. There was a festival, right? And I'm doing a one-man show, talking through living in the tent. It actually didn't go very well, right? Mm-hmm. But it went all right. And at the end of the thing, the guy comes up and hands me my tent pegs.
Wow.
And he goes, hey, dude, I don't know why I did that. It was just this. So he grew in those 7.5 or whatever many months. He grew. He grew up enough.
Yeah.
And he admitted to himself that he was being a douche.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
That's cool.
And handed me back the pegs. And then shout
out to forgiveness.
Yeah. And I guess he realized that he was being silly.
That's cool.
And judgmental. So it was kind of cool.
Did you forgive him, or were you kind of pissed off still?
I just know I wouldn't have done that at 20 years of age.
I know.
Because I'm always shocked by how childish people can be and how much people have to be involved in other people's lives,
Yeah.
Yeah. But, that's the way of life. It was great, though, man. And you get so comfortable. If you live in a tent, you get so comfortable with nature. Like you'll watch a spider build its web and catch something and then rebuild its web and then the dew on it in the morning, and you'll watch how the tree rises and falls over the 4 months with the weight of the leaves, and how if you're underneath the tree with leaves it's warmer than if you're out in the open underneath the stars directly. It's 5 degrees warmer, and that's just one tree. And then walking late at night, it's not like your vision improves or anything, but you just become so relaxed walking late at night because you're the most ridiculous lunatic out there. Yeah. So instead of oh, it's dangerous late at night, you go, oh yeah, there's no one out late at night because no one's as crazy as me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only people you're people.
I've been in the library all day.
Yeah. It was great, actually, man. I'd actually recommend it for students because it's so quiet back at your house, your tent. There's nobody like vomiting in the next room.
Yeah.
Or, you know, there's nobody.
Crazy noise and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
no
I
crazy
know.
noise. So I had a good year. Probably my best year academically was living in the tent.
Interesting you said that about how it's 5 degrees warmer underneath the tree.
Yeah.
Here's something I found. If it's a cold night and you see an empty parking lot or you're gonna park your car, park under a tree or near a tree, because then that way your windshield won't be covered with the morning dew,
You're
that
dead
frost.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, because it's a little bit. You create your own little ecosystem right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's if you're ever sleeping out, a massive difference. That's why you'll often see homeless people sleeping with cardboard over them. Just that one sheet of cardboard is 5 degrees, 10 degrees.
Has it changed your as a stand-up traveling comic? Has it changed your accommodation situation? Are you ever like, you know what? That's cool. They don't want to get. I'm not able to get a hotel for that one night. I'll just, I'll stay I'll stay in the Marriott the other 3 nights. But the first night when I get there, because I know some comedians that there's another comedian. I think his name is Steve Trevino. I think Steve does this.
Mm-hmm.
He'll purposely on the way to a gig like find a campsite, or he'll refuse the hotel so he can go camping. He likes that part of it. Do you do that?
Well, here I would say right now, because I'm in America and I got bills to pay, I would probably see what the financial situation was.
Yeah.
So if they said to me, "Hey, we'll put you up in a hotel for 5 nights. Hey, but there's also this beautiful campsite. We'll give you the money, $500, and we'll pay your 4 nights hotel, right, or whatever it is."
Yeah.
Or you can just keep the money. Then I might consider, I might even crowd surf and keep the money. Or not crowd surf, couch surf.
Couch surf.
Yeah.
Crowd surf.
Yeah.
You guys keep me up for 8 hours, and our arms are tired.
Yeah.
You need to be at the boxing gym with Darren.
Yeah.
Doing them push-ups, you mother.
I could be comfortable anywhere, but if a place I just came back from this Kansas City gig, which was pretty cool. So it was a huge festival, the Kansas City Irish Festival, 100,000 people over 2 days, 50,000 people a day. And they put on these great musical acts that are world renowned in the Irish community, right? So the High Kings and Doolin and all these great Irish names that no one in America knows unless you're Irish. But so they put me up in a great hotel, and we had 2 great shows with a big, you'll appreciate this, like $250 the first night. They sold all the tickets,
Wow, I love it.
and then $125 the next night. It was a little quieter, but it's still like rock and roll,
Yeah.
And there's free beer flowing all day and food. There, I just wanted that experience. I just wanted a good time and, a reminder of, you're a comedian. It's an art form and you're being paid well for it. But if, this rough set thing that I'm doing at Christmas, starting December 15th, walking from San Francisco to LA, I want to suffer a little bit, because I know from life experience that from that suffering comes incredible thoughts. So I'm pretty sure I'll write it. I think I could, write 30 very interesting, 80% funny comedy walking over those 30 days. Just from experiences, who I interact with. Because, the world just comes at you in a different way when you're walking and under pressure.
Totally. You know what I like about walking? Because I walk not like that, but I do walk around a lot.
Yeah.
I've found so much money over the years just because while most people are staring at their phones or in a car or driving,
You've made a profit.
Yes. I'm actually, I'll post it too when I found a $10 bill and I'm like, I would not have found this on a treadmill. You know?
Yeah.
I'd be surprised how much money you're going to find on this trip. You're going to find money. I guarantee. Oh, I'm willing to bet you're going to find money.
Oh, yeah. I agree. Coins. I found it over the course of my life, 10s and 20s.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
I'm guessing, are people taking the change from fast food bags or the money and then just putting it all in the bag or something, and then maybe it blows out the window or they litter or something?
Yeah.
I don't know how that money gets out there, but
that must be it. Yeah. Or parking meters.
Yeah.
I had a weird experience at a parking meter the other night, Darren. Right. So I'm at a parking meter. I pull up and this guy runs over to me and goes, "How long are you going to stay?" And I go, "What? Well, what's he got to do with anything?" And he goes, "How long are you going to stay?" And he was kind of a bit more aggressive. And I go, "Probably about 2 hours." Out of his pocket, he pulls this little contraption with a coin on a stick attached to it, pushes it into the parking meter, gives me 2 hours.
Wow.
Disappears into the night.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's his way of being like, I'm going to help you. Just
yeah. He's like a
how
good
long
Samaritan. I guess he probably wanted money, but he didn't hang around long enough for me to hand him any money. He was just
no,
maybe he
you
was
think
just
so?
An angel.
He might have been. You never know. Maybe there's these people who are like, I'm going to stick it to the city because I think people,
Yeah.
he might be one of those guys.
Yeah.
It's funny. I like talking to people. I've talked to people even before I had a podcast. I talked to a meter maid. That sounds so stupid.
Yeah.
I talked to people before I had a podcast.
Darren was developing his social skills from an early age.
Write that down. You mean you talked to people before you had a podcast? No, but I would interview people with no, just talking to them, And I remember there was I talked to, there was a comic back in the open mics at the Comedy Store, and her day job was is a meter maid or parking enforcer. I don't know what they're called nowadays, but whatever. Hello, Rita, meter maid, whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, people, as you know, like, your occupation is a punchline. People despise meter maids. They hate parking attendants. Like, it's often like, I go, how do you deal with that? And then she told me the flip side. She goes, well, you know who does like us? Business owners, because they don't want 5 cars parked in front of their building all day on the street, and then we can't get customers. So she goes, when we keep that flow going, that kind of opened my eyes on why, there might be
those people,
time limits.
Exactly. Same with the people who tow away cars. I always wonder how they, on a daily basis, live with that. Because they're usually pretty tough guys because they have to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can just, the way you carry yourself in the street is usually based on what your day is going like.
Yeah.
And those guys have had many days of like altercations or at least verbal abuse as they're lifting a car onto a truck.
Absolutely.
So they've got this then like stone wall body and eyes and they're tough guys. I think you have to be careful about doing jobs that don't make you feel good, because before you know it, you could be have the body of a tow trucker.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm not. But like comedians too, we have to work on it. We have to be careful not to get too into the fun. We have to remember to relax and do everything that isn't stand-up comedy, so that we can also be human when we're on stage.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we just get into these patterns, with the rhythms of a comedian.
Yeah. My brother-in-law says I talk in jokes, because I'll tell a story. Because I realize, like, although it's funny, my wife is really funny, and sometimes I'm like, I'll be trying to paint this picture, and she's like, just get to the point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I love this. I love telling a story, but maybe I get too detailed.
Well, it's
sometimes,
partly why you're so good.
Well, yeah. When it comes to comedy, I'm like, let me just get to the point. But I guess in real life, I try to break down. But I also know that there should be like a ta-da at the end of it.
Yeah. Well, life's more interesting if you make people laugh. It's great, isn't it? When there's a group around you and they're on it. They're laughing.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy who's funny all the time in every group.
No way.
Because that's tiring and it's annoying.
Yeah.
But like, you just know when you walk into a group that if you want to mess with the hierarchies of that group and turn that whole group dynamic upside down and have everyone laughing, you can do it within a minute and a half.
I love it. I hate when I'm in a group of people like that doesn't happen that often anymore, but mostly when I was in school, where they would like be laughing about, but all they're doing is trading movie quotes back and forth and catchphrases, and I'm like, like the latest like dilly dilly off of like those commercials, or just I'm like, those I don't know, I'm not into that kind of humor,
No,
I like real stuff that really happens.
Yeah,
like when you said, "Do you remember the first time you were punched in the face?" And I said, "Yes." You're like, "What did you say?"
Yeah, isn't that weird how I knew you got punched in the face?
Yeah.
Well,
that's hilarious.
I guess we should write that down. One of us can tell it on stage, see if it works.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, on the street, that could be your thing. That could be your
just constantly, over and over again. 2,000 people. Have you noticed how success seems to be based around repetition rather than quality? Have you noticed that in social media and almost nearly everything?
Wait a second. That is a deep line, brother. Brother, that is a deep line. Say that one more time. Listen to this, you guys.
Have you noticed how success seems to be based around repetition rather than quality right now?
Yes, because I've been doing comedy for 28 years. And
oh, well, that is repetition in a form.
It is, absolutely. But no, I was making kind of a joke there, but you're right, though. Absolutely. I've been looking at podcasts because the ones that I like and listen to, they've been around since 2012, 2010, 2009, and there's a reason, because you get better at it. The whole 10,000 hours thing. You're right. It's like repetition. What's
that like? Because how many years? 20 years?
28 years.
28 years doing comedy.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you remember when you were 5 years in, 6 years in?
Yes.
And how you thought you were pretty much way better than your first year?
Absolutely.
So does that exponential growth?
Yes.
When you now looking back at 28 years, when you look at 6, you kind of go, wow, that was so...
Yeah.
That was so
That was good back then because I was getting laughs, but you're right, it's definitely a different level now. Now I'm not afraid of the silence. I'm not afraid to tell a story.
Yeah.
I'm probably still afraid of certain things. Like I thought the other day, I do think a lot in the shower. I think a lot when I'm taking a shower.
Yeah.
For something, I don't know, maybe there's water going over the body. And I thought, you know what, I haven't, for doing comedy as long as I have, I don't think I've ever done a full set, or maybe once or twice with the mic in the mic stand. Not that you have to, but
No.
I've never chosen to do that.
I would not know how to do that. And I look at some people now, and I think, oh,
But I don't even think
maybe
it's-
they're
yeah.
more relaxed than me in their bodies. But then I talk to these guys, and they're like, dude, the fact that you move around stage and jump around and you're so calm on
Yeah.
stage, it's like they're envious of that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a time and a place for no movement, because when you stop and deliver a punchline,
Absolutely.
still, it seems to hit way harder than if you deliver a punchline while you're moving, unless it's a massive dynamic act out, right?
Yeah.
Like this weird.
It's
this is a
true.
very specific conversation for non-comedians, but whatever.
Yeah. But it's true though. It's like, you know, like there's certain things where I'll be doing a character, and I'm kind of like rocking back and forth like I'm a little kid, and then I'll stop still and deliver that punchline.
Yes, and you know
Yeah.
that if you rocked while delivering the punchline, it would be 75% less.
Right.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
We're horse whispering out there, dude.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We're
I
trying to
know.
figure out how to.
I
tame
love the
that
art of
horse.
stand-up comedy. It's so great, right? I mean, it's the best. I love this form of telling stories and little quick things, and especially when the energy gets there. I just put up a new YouTube video a couple days ago, and from my set at the Comedy Magic Club. If you guys get a chance, go check it out. It's pretty cool. I said when the beat goes from comical to sexy,
I saw that,
to creepy, and it's so cool because I didn't know. So basically, the gist of it is I would notice this, like when I would do my comedy, people would laugh, like really giggle if I'm doing a punchline, and I'm going like that's more comical, you know. Like if I would be like what's one of my jokes? I can't even think. Like I like my women like I like my. Give me something. I like my women like I like my
water.
Ooh, wet. Give me another one. I like my women like I like my
pens.
Ooh, with disappearing ink. Chained to a bank. These are really hard, by the way.
I'm
These like the
trying to
worst
say what I say.
examples. Like,
Yeah.
I know.
I like my women like I like my couch.
Wait a second. That was pretty funny. Chained to a bank. Do they still do that? Do they still chain the pens?
Yeah, but
to the bank?
here. This is where it messes with you. It's not the pen that's chained to the bank. It's the bank that's chained to the pen.
Ooh. That was deep, brother. I like my women like I like my. You said couch.
Couch.
I like my women like my couch on all fours. I think hopefully your roommate's gone.
No, she's gone.
Okay, good. I don't want to think we're all creepy over here.
What if I said a roommate? What would you say?
Oh, I like my women like I like my roommate. Gone. Remembering the first time she got punched in the face by a toddler. Are you sure she's gone?
Yeah, she's gone. She's
Okay,
gone.
I'm like-
yeah, no, she's sweet. She's gone.
She's like, you assholes.
She would laugh.
Okay, she is funny. That was cool.
Yeah, she's a cool girl.
So anyway, the beat was comical. We're talking about the psychology of comedy. But then when I would slow it down, I go, then it gets sexy. And I start gyrating, you know.
Yeah.
And then I go, but when I do it slower, it goes from sexy to creepy. But whatever. But on stage, I make it really creepy. And then I take the flashlight and I put it underneath my chin.
Yeah.
So it glows. And I did not know that they were going to shut the lights off. So it's in complete blackness. And I'm just like, come to my van, wear your socks and Crocs and come to whatever. And I'm riffing. But you guys check out the video because it's great.
Very good. Where would they get that? Instagram.
Instagram's like the teaser, but like the full video, like the 3.5 minute version is on YouTube. Go to the Darren Carter channel on YouTube. Darren Carter channel. What's your YouTube? Do you want people to...
Francis Cronin anywhere. FrancisCronin anywhere. I'm at that level of fame where I have to spell my name.
I know you as Frank Cronin, but online, Francis Cronin.
I was friends. I was Frank my whole life, and then I got into showbiz, and people started finding my family and friends, and then they would say weird things to them. So I changed it to Francis. Just hiding out.
Yeah. Don't you hate that? That's the weird thing about
but now
social
they know
media.
because I've talked about it so many times at this point.
Yeah.
But it gets to a weird point. If you, like when that thing in the tent was going on, like my mother could maybe post a picture of, hey, happy birthday, Mom. And then someone underneath would go, yeah, your mother's whatever, you know. You're just like, oh, I think I'll hide. People are mean.
What do really famous people do?
They stay off it, or they have their name all messed up so that no one can find them except their friends.
That's funny.
I think so.
Because a few of my friends have done. They got into that level where they do that now.
Yeah, they
They're
change
like,
their name around.
now my
right?
name is Jasper Yapper Yappy Yappy or whatever.
And then they have someone who does their social media.
Yeah, I think the Facebook one is the one where I know that they changed their name.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, and also maybe on Facebook they're trying to build up their fan page.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of these people, especially if they've made money, they have a social media person. So, for the sole purpose of not having to deal with the negative fallout.
Interesting.
I know that because I have friends who do that.
Yeah,
for sure. For lots of people,
They
it's
do-
not just like a once-off. This is like everyone has a social media friend. Or guy.
Wait, you have a friend that does the tweeting and stuff for the famous person?
Yeah, for famous people, multiple. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, and it's quite common. Now, obviously, sometimes they tweet.
They get him in trouble and get
they
him
tweet
fired.
themselves. Yeah.
What if Roseanne Barr was like, "That was my social media person"?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Now she. I guess a lot of people hold on to their Twitter, but then they would give away their Facebook and Instagram out to a company or something like that. To keep it because there's algorithmic things that they're all trying to hit. They're trying to hit like one post a day that's colorful, that has a big face in it because the algorithm recognizes faces, So if it's a close up of a face, it's going to get 200 likes, but if it's a far away face, it's only going to get 50 likes. You know what I mean?
Oh wow!
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
So guys, if you're listening, there's
Big
a
faces.
tip right there. Put your big face out there online.
Yeah, yeah. Just do a really close up of one eye.
Of one eye. Oh my God! I broke a 500.
Yeah. So what's next up in the comedy world for you, Darren?
Well, I'm gonna do my next comedy album, man. I'm gonna do it. I got my fourth one. It's called The Party Continues.
Wow.
And I'm down to do the fifth one. I've pretty much got the material mapped out.
You've done 3 hours or three albums.
I've done 4. I have 4 albums.
My God.
I'm actually on another one. Or I'm actually on a couple more, but the one. But I'm just like those are like compilation ones.
Yeah.
My first one is called That Ginger's Crazy. No, I'm sorry. The first one is called Shady Side, and that was a lot of redhead jokes. And remember we talked about when you've been doing comedy for 28 years versus 6 years.
Yeah.
Well, that first album was I'd been doing comedy for about 10 years at that point. It's kind of cool when you listen to it. My voice is higher.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, so like
that was before the balls dropped.
yeah, before the balls drop. My friend hit me in the slingshot in the nuts.
Oh, thanks a lot, Doug. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that first album, it's pretty cool because I talked about redheads and stuff, and that was back when gangster rap was really popular. And I was like, you could never see my bunch of redheads coming to your neighborhood covered with sunscreen. Stop pushing, Trevor. And I'm acting like I'm putting on sunblock. And we're from the shady side of the street. We go to the neighborhoods with lots of trees. Shady side. We stay inside because we get sunburned when we go outside. We from the shady side. Yeah, so those redheads.
Right at the height is that 90s?
That was in that. No, that came. Well, I recorded it April of '99, and it was released in 2000.
That was back when MTV was cool, right?
Yes.
You were big on MTV.
BET. Yeah,
BET.
Black Entertainment Television, which is interesting because I hit the. So funny, like in I want to say it was either.
Do they know you're not black?
They don't know. I would tell people I got drafted.
Okay.
I was on my way to CMT and I ended up at BET.
Yeah.
Which is great. If you want to kind of stand out, that's another thing you do. Like be funny and go on like BET because you'll be a white guy, not just a regular white guy, red hair, blue eyes, like I was, and it's like damn, and
Dude,
it was awesome.
I've already been talking to because I roll around with a lot of black comedians around town.
Yeah.
Because by the way, if anyone's listening, this is how comedians talk: white comedians, black comedians. It's like we put each other in little groups.
Yeah.
And we love each other all equally. But I was rolling around with a lot of black comedians, and they were telling me, dude, your comedy because you're Irish would fit into the black market quite well, because there's this underdog story of the Irish, and then there's the underdog story with the black comedians, and also the energy and how we communicate things.
Yeah.
There's a kind of lyrical poetry to it, which seems to fit in with the language of the black comedy.
Black comedy rooms are amazing. I mean, they'll let you know if it's
best energy ever.
And if something's not funny, you'll know. But that's okay, because you know what? One of my best shows, for me, as growth, like learning was I did a casino, the Normandy Casino, I believe, down near Compton. I think that's where it's at.
Yeah.
It's is it the Normandy? Whatever. I'm doing a casino, and it was Leslie Jones was on the show. This is before any of us had any kind of notoriety, and I mean, this one dude just kept, right when I walked out on stage, he was like, "You ain't funny. Next, get off the stage, man." Like I hadn't I said like one sentence.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but I already knew it. See, at that point, I think I had been on like 2 or 3 television appearances.
Yeah.
And I already knew I was funny. So F him. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I already knew. I already knew I was gonna get the crowd.
Yeah.
This is God. When was this? This might have been around. I remember I did a Bill Clinton thing back then that used to kill, and it was I said so Bill Clinton was still in office because I said it was like his last year, and I go I want to see Bill Clinton when he gets out of office. I go, I bet you he's the kind of guy that would come back and like drive around the White House like those losers in high school. You know, like when they get out of high school and they keep driving around at lunchtime. And so I was like, Bill Clinton will be like, I'm back, biatch. And I'd hold up my hands like the white, like the West Side. I'd be like, White House. And some of the lines in the thing would be like, I'd be like, sup. I want to give a shout out to my boo, Hillary. That's my baby's mama. Hillary's got my back. And Monica's got my front. And that was back when the thing was happening. So it was just you know, it would really connect.
You
Destroyed. It would, you know. And so I did that. It killed. People were clapping and laughing. And here's what I learned. I took that moment after the, you know, I had the audience in the palm of my hands. And I step back and I come back up and I tell the crowd, I said, you know, and I didn't point at the guy. I just said that I heard it. I go, you know, when I walked out on stage tonight, I heard somebody say, get off the stage. You're not funny. Next. I'm glad I stayed. You guys are wonderful. Good night. And they're like, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
So that was a moment of like, ooh, okay. I know
yeah.
that's a good, it was a very passive way to get back at a heckler.
Yeah, dude. And they'll let you know. They let you know straight away.
Yeah.
I was up in Oakland. I was way too new at comedy to be doing the room that I was doing. So when I'm walking in the door, you know, walking in, hey, you sure you want to come in here?
Oh, I hate that shit. I used to hear that all the time.
Yeah, and then about to bring me up on stage, not even joking. Well, actually, there's nothing funny about this at all. So it was the same night of the march for Trayvon Martin in Oakland, and I'm Irish and I don't know about all the politics. I have no idea what's going on. So I'm walking into this predominantly black neighborhood, a stronghold for the black community in Oakland on that night, and it's an open mic. Oh, God. Just a really bad move.
Open mic. Yeah, if it was a paid show, it's one thing. Open mics are tough as it is.
Yeah. So I walk in. As soon as I go up on stage, I grab the mic. Just
open
like you,
mics are so tough.
The front row, which had their backs to the bar looking front, all of them, 5 women, all turned around and went back to the drink and gave me the finger over the head. No, over the head.
Mm-mm.
And I bombed for 5 minutes, got off stage, went home with my tail between my legs. There's no upside to it. Years later, dude. Oh, whose was it? It was years later. I'm at Flappers Comedy Club, and it was I was hosting. There's a
Wait, hold on. There's nothing funny about it. That was a challenge for me. Yeah. I'm like, when you went home, that was not your tail you tucked between your legs. That was your dick.
Yeah.
You're like, I think I'm gonna be a tranny now.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
No, it sucks.
Years later,
I bombed in Oakland before.
Yeah, Oakland.
It's tough.
It depends. It depends.
Really.
But then 5 years later,
I'm sorry, but when you said open mic, that already lets you know it's gonna be tough.
Oh yeah, but this was here was the thing.
Okay.
Before and after me crushed.
Yeah,
I was just the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. And also probably wasn't funny. That's the reality. I mean, I could have won if I was good enough. I would have won. 5 years later, dude, it's Cuba Gooding Jr.'s brother's birthday, and I'm hosting the show at Flappers, and Cuba's supposed to show up, and all the Goodings are around. Great people, right? The whole crowd's like 200 people deep. It's a sold-out crowd. The energy's through the roof. There's people standing up on the seats, on the tables, and it's going really well because I was pushing that energy that is required for those rooms. Yeah, man. And when they know you're in, when the room knows you're in with them and you're up for them and you want good things for them, it's all good. The problem in Oakland was I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But yeah, man, that was one of my best gigs ever. Actually, the opening hosting.
Were any of the comedians cool with you at the open mic?
Oh, they were all cool.
Yeah,
they were all cool. It was just the locals that had enough.
That's good. I like that when I've done situations like that. But at least the comedians are cool with me.
Yeah.
I bombed one time,
and I totally understand it. I get it.
I remember one time I was in Atlanta, at this place called Uptown Comedy, and it's basically the black comedy club.
Yeah.
And I mean there's like big black acts that don't play there because it's a different type of audience, you know. And I remember one night, it was weird. On the Saturday night, I got a standing ovation, early show, and the late show pretty much lost the crowd. And like, I mean, it started buzzing. Like people were talking so much, it sounded like bees. I mean, it was like, bzzz. I felt like a substitute teacher, and they did not. It was getting bad.
Yeah.
And people were like, I was really losing the crowd. But I just, I relaxed. Just like with boxing, I relaxed, breathed. There's a DJ on stage. There's a DJ on stage with you.
Yeah.
And he has like that microphone, that Garth Brooks thing that like that. Remember like those microphones that and that you don't have to hold. And so I was like, I'm just gonna bring the DJ into this. So I would tell a punchline. He would play that song, black and yellow, and I would do a joke, and then he would be black and yellow. And then I got the crowd a little bit on my side. Like I would do stuff. I thought, okay, let me just think of this as a corporate gig. Let me just do material that I know this crowd's gonna like. So I did stuff that would actually won some of the people back. And then afterwards, I go to the green room. In the comics, there was like 10 of the comics in there. Because that's another thing. That room did a lot of guest sets.
Yeah.
So the comics got all quiet when I walked in to see what my reaction was going to be. And I was like, damn, that was tough. And they were like, oh, man. They like start laughing. They go, damn, man. And I go, you know what, though? I wonder if I should try to sell CDs and T-shirts. And then... and
a glutton for punishment.
Yeah. And they were like, I don't know, man. If I was you, I wouldn't even go out there again, man. And I mean, if you do, don't do it by the exit, man, where you're by yourself. At least try to do it from the stage. And then this one guy goes, fuck it, man. I'll fucking do it. He goes, people don't like Walmart, and they still do a hell of a lot of business.
Well, that's a good joke.
And I was like, yeah. You're right. I went out stage when they go, that's our show, and I actually walked out on stage, and I actually 2 people bought something.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a sympathy bot or what, but because I remember one of the couple that bought me, they go, we've seen you before when we were in Miami. I don't know what's up with this crowd. And I was like, no problem, just thank you. Yeah.
And the first show you crushed. It's very hard, I think, sometimes to have 2 good shows.
I think I got too full of myself the second show where I was way too relaxed.
Yeah, and you're also expecting the same response from the audience. And then when it doesn't come, you start sweating. Yeah. And then you start speeding up, and then you start reaching and everything like that.
I mean, I got kind of hacky that night when I started bombing. I used every trick in the tool book, like, all right, you guys, give it up to yourselves. How about the ladies? Let's give it. I mean, but it worked though.
You're just giving up alcohol.
Exactly.
Hey, I'm sober 5 years. Today's the day.
And I just lost 200 pounds. Give it up to me. Even though you guys hate me.
One thing for anyone who doesn't know about comedy, in comedy there's things called black rooms and white, black rooms and just other rooms. But like, I want to do more black rooms in LA and Hollywood, right? Did you guys say that here?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that's where that you can play anywhere in America once you've done both sides and killed in both types of rooms. So I was talking to a friend of mine, Danny Williams, and another guy, and we're talking about maybe doing some black rooms. That was a while ago though, so I have to bring it up with him again. Just like
is he white?
No, he's a black dude.
That's good. I was gonna say, because if 2 white guys show up, now they're judging you. If you're by yourself in white, it's cool.
Yeah.
If you're walking with
yeah.
Because I've been there, I've done that. I know what it's like. So it's like.
Yeah, you gotta go in. Yeah, I gotta go in with a rep, with somebody, an ambassador.
That or just go by yourself and just.
Okay.
But if enough people know you, then it's fine. All you need is you just need to show up and have a couple people go, oh, Frank's funny.
Oh, okay.
That's all you need.
Yeah, and then they leave him. Hey, the next dude coming to the stage is actually really funny. Yeah, and then you're good.
Yeah, or at least off stage where they're like they'll give a recommendation.
Yeah,
like, give Frank. Yeah,
because the loyalty the Goodings gig, that Cuba Gooding gig was just an eye opener into there's a whole world of entertainment out there that I want to be involved in, because it was so much fun, man. The DJ they brought their own DJ. I'd never seen the energy in the room. You drop a punchline with conviction, it's like.
I know.
And you just don't get that out of a lot of white audiences are just too tight.
Yeah.
They're not relaxed.
You don't realize it till you start getting out. See, I started out in that kind of, those kind of mixed rooms,
Yeah.
And so I got used to that. And so when I went to like San Diego or something, I was like, man, this is definitely,
Yeah.
But you're like a powerhouse. You'll be like, it's like lifting 300 pounds. And then when you go do like a, you're like, this is like nothing. It's like 50 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great, man. Yeah, it's interesting how the audience forces you. Or the audience is what actually cultivates your set.
I love where this is going. Do we have a few more minutes, or do we have to wrap up, or what's?
I got like 9 minutes.
9 minutes? Okay, we got 9 minutes.
Yeah,
okay.
Now, the list of things went.
Where's
missing.
that list of stuff that I wrote down earlier? Oh,
yeah.
Was there? Okay, what should we get to? Okay.
Well, I could tell you, I guess.
The jail in Mexico.
Oh, yeah. So when I was in, just stories to entertain people at home. So I got out of the army, and I had some money left over because I had saved it. I had saved quite a lot in the army. You don't have a lot of free time, you know. And I had the studio going, so there was these tributaries of income, and I thought, wow, I've got money, man. I'll do something with it. But what I didn't know was it's not a lot of money, but it just felt like a lot to me because I had grown up without a lot of money. So I go, my friend married a Mexican girl, and he moved to Guadalajara, and he needed a place to live, or he needed a business because the local wages weren't that good. It's better to own your own business. So I go, dude, I got some money. You got some money. Why don't we pool our money? And the family that he was marrying into had some experiences with these chicken wings restaurants, a franchise called Wings Army. So it's chicken wings and beer, like all these cool beers, like 100 different beers. So I thought, okay, well, we know beer. They know the business. Franchise is making money, so we'll buy one. It went well. We opened one, and then like 5 years in, this other property like a mile up the road in a nicer part of town, because our first place was...
Was it weird owning a business across the world? Like, did you...
Oh, I lived there.
You lived there?
Yeah,
okay.
I moved there. So I quit the army and moved over there, and then gave the studio to a friend of mine to run, the recording studio. And both...
That'd be funny if the next podcast you're like, yeah, that's where you two did 6 other albums. I'm like, God, why did I even ask him that question?
Dude, I actually... Some of the bands are really good, but I can't for the life of me remember them now. But they're not at that national or international level, you know? But it was a really cool little recording studio. It was at the back of my local credit union by my local store. And I remember when I was going in and I was pitching the idea to the board of the credit union. I remember I was like 21 and I thought, they're never going to give me anything. I'm too young. They won't believe me. And they were just like, this is like a good life lesson for me. When they were so enthusiastic, I was convinced, because the board was all 65 and up. I'm thinking, they're never going to trust me. But what I forgot is, this idea that all old people are crabby and don't want young people to succeed and they're miserly, it's not true. Most of them, they want to give you opportunities. You just have to present them with an idea that's good enough that'll actually work. So they gave me permission to rent out and sublet this premises and equip it with some equipment. And then the bands brought in some recording equipment, and I'd have like 4-hour sessions, and I'd lease it out 4 hours at a time, 3 sessions a day at a reasonable rate. So it was like all this automatic money, man, and I'd never experienced money before. So between the army, that and then the bars, at one point I was making lots of money, and I'm living in Mexico, so I'm like a king, right?
They're gonna kill us if we don't get to this. How you got arrested?
Dude,
in
I'm
jail.
coming, yeah.
Okay,
so I'm
good,
like
good,
a
good,
king.
good,
The money's looking reasonable,
Nice.
and I wasn't flaunting it or anything, but there must have been, you know. Anyway, one day one of my waiters at the Irish bar, one of his side jobs was selling shoes, and he had sold all these shoes to this guy, and the guy wasn't paying him. So I said, "Here, I'll go with you. I know how to muscle money out of people, like, respectfully." So I walk in and go, "Hey, dude, this is one of my workers, and you owe him whatever 20,000 pesos." And lo and behold, in Mexico, apparently, they had been threatened by people who were threatening to kill them and everything. So they thought I was some narco, some drug trafficker, coming in and saying, "Hey, this is one of my workers, you better pay him." So they thought that I was one of these guys that was like a really evil dude. So anyway, before I know it, it's a few days later, I get a call, "Hey, have your money, you want to meet us at the local coffee shop?" I go over to the coffee shop, sitting in the coffee shop, and the cops out of nowhere just surround the place, like lots of weapons, lots of people. And this huge guy I go to jump over the wall because I couldn't tell they were cops. They're all playing clothes. And he just grabs me by the arm. This huge cop pulls me down into my seat and goes, "Hey, we're police. You know, they put me in the back of this car." So we talk it out. It was proved that I didn't do anything wrong and that it was their mistake to think that I was involved with this drug trafficking game, right? But that didn't stop me being put underground in some massive jail in the middle of Guadalajara, very scary place. All these perspex windows, like 20, 30 perspex windows. People who obviously, like, I still think there's probably a lot of people in there who didn't have money or representation like I had, and that are probably in there for wrongfully accused.
You said underground?
Underground, yeah.
What's prospect windows?
Oh, perspex windows.
What's that
So
mean?
it's like plastic windows. These very thick plastic, so that you can't, smash it. Just like cages with 4 or 5 people in. It's terrible. Just really bad jail conditions in Mexico. So we were in there overnight, me and my waiter, right? And we're very sad. And my friend, I got a call from the Irish consulate, to say, hey, Frank, you all right? Have you been injured? No. And then, they hung up. That's all they want to know. Are you safe and sound? And then one of my business partner, Dave, who I opened the bar with, comes by to try and get me out. And they throw him in jail. But they didn't know he had better connections than them. So that's how it works down in Mexico. It's a very slippery slope. So
that sucks. So I'm going to go get my friends out. Guess what? Now you're coming into jail.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to tie up loose ends because their overarching goal is to make you so scared that you'll pay money to get out, which they did. So what they did was they kept us down there long enough that Dave's family got worried, and they pulled in some favors to have a meeting. And we've been underground about 24 hours, and all of a sudden we're being let out, and we find out that they bought us out with 12 bottles of Buchanan's 12-year whiskey. That's all we had to, or 6 bottles of 12-year whiskey. So that was our bribe. The hard thing about doing business in Mexico's a beautiful place. People are great, but once you start doing business there, people start to watch, and they start. The government is really the problem. It's not the people.
Did your waiter? Did he ever get his money?
I think he got it later. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, he got it later. But I was very non-threatening. I just went in there with the kind of, hey guys, you owe this guy money, and I'm the ambassador for him.
Yeah.
But what they saw was, hey, give us the money, pay him now, and they related it to all these other threats they got because they were shady people. Yeah. So that was just one time in Mexico.
How much longer did you stay in Mexico after that?
Oh, 3 years.
Oh, that's good. So it wasn't like, okay, I'm out of here.
No, every night, I had a few other stories just regarding Mexico. Pretty cool. One was, just interesting stories. So my army friends came over to visit one time, and we're driving back from the bar, and we've had a few pints, and the cops like to pull over people in Mexico, especially with my complexion.
Yeah.
And extort money. This is a commonly known thing. This isn't a bad thing to say. It's just like reality. And usually the going thing in Mexico is that as you hand them your license, there's money on the license. You might not have done anything wrong, but it's the only way you're going to leave there with your car.
Yeah.
And they know this. It's late night. They're armed.
Oh, hello, officer. Here's
my license. Oh,
and what would be $20? 20 American dollars?
No, it's probably only $5.
Oh.
But down there, it feels like a little more. That could be, that's 100 pesos could be a day's wage, which is $6.
Yeah.
$6-7 for a working man. So they see you driving with your friends, and they go, oh, we'll just pull these guys over, get a little money for the night, and jobs oxo. But my friends had been around. Some of them are very skilled army guys in the sneaky part of the army, so they're very unperturbed by people with weapons.
And plus they're like had these pints in them.
So they get out of the car. We all get out of the car, and the lads, the local guy, the local police with their masks, and they're up on a truck with the machine gun facing the car, and the lads stay outside the car. And one of my friends, being silly, just turns around and starts going, oh, that's a great gun. Starts talking to him about the gun. And they literally didn't know what to do with the guys. So it was kind of like a funny interaction.
How did that end?
It ended up with one of them claiming that one of my crew pretending they were from the consulate, and then us being left alone. That's a weird story.
That's weird. I like it. I know we got to wrap up. I can't help especially when Conor McGregor's in the news a lot, when he's fighting Floyd Mayweather, when he has a big fight coming up. I'm like, man, you could really do a Conor McGregor impression. Like you kind of look like him a little bit. And You guys
He's got a very specific accent. That's actually pretty hard to do.
Did he grow up far from you or near you?
No, 2-3 miles. Wow. Yeah, Dublin's pretty concentrated, so he was only a few miles away. A place called Crumlin. So I would live in Temple Oak, which Crumlin is next door to. So it's the next. So say Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, except at the lower end of the income bracket. When we were growing up, now it's a really nice place.
Look how man, when this comedy takes off, like that level that you're going to get to, it's like you're going to have the Irish behind you. It's going to be amazing. When you go to Vegas, it'll be like, you know what I mean?
I hope so. I think
it'll be great.
I think you realize that in America the Irish thing is a real thing. The only thing is you got to be skilled enough to get there, and that's that's what we're all working on right now.
Yeah,
right?
and I can help you any way I can help you, and you can help me. I mean,
Of
seriously,
course, bro.
but definitely I want to help you.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. You too.
I want to show you how to little things I've learned along the way. You know how when people do like these toasts, like hey, we're gonna do a toast,
Yeah.
and do you know any like those cool Irish like limerick toasts or whatever they're called?
Oh,
Like may the breeze hit you in the back and the door. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I can't think of a funny one offhand, but you
Or-
could say Ganairi on Boherlat, which is Irish for may the road rise to meet you, which I think is kind of funny because that's what happens when you're drunk. It's like you fall. You know? May the road rise.
bam.
Yeah.
May the road rise. See, I'm doing a bad impression.
And then the second thing is may the wind be always at your back.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's about farting. You know,
Yeah.
I think there's potentially a funny.
I heard one time they said like when you get kicked out of a place, may the don't let the door hit you with the good Lord split you.
Yeah.
You know.
No, exactly. That's a good one. I like that. Yeah, dude. I think
I was looking for one of those romantic, charming ones where like maybe you have people.
like a words of advice for.
Oh, do you have something like that?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if this is like if I was.
Let's do a toast, and then
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like, guys, at every red light, I want you to stop
Yeah,
and do
stop
a
and be
gratitude
grateful.
list.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not going to drink with this asshole anymore. He's like being all positive and shit.
Yeah. No, well, like, this is, you see, because the conversation was good, I've gone off funny. I'm trying to be, I'm not trying to be deep, but it's like, I feel
Do
more
that.
deep.
I love that.
The truth.
Yeah.
I've been genuinely fascinated with the concept of truth and recently. And if you speak it, how it has a power, like it has a gravity, right, to it. So this I wrote this the other day and I thought it was actually quite apt, which is the truth has a gravity so strong that when you speak it, it pulls people in. And I think that that's very true, and I think it's in comedy too. If you speak the truth and tag it with the funny, it pulls people in. Funny on its own isn't. Funny on its own is cool.
It's like birthday
But
cake
truth,
frosting.
dude. Yeah, truth is like rocket fuel
I
for
think-
life, for
yes.
acting, for music, for rap, for everything, for relationships. Truth, dude. As much honesty as you can get into your life. Obviously, don't tell someone if you've, lost them a lot of money and.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. When I think about my comedy early on, you said like the first 6 years, it was like that birthday cake frosting. It was like, here, this is funny. This is an impression. This is wacky. Da, 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 da. And I still do that. I still have that. But when you say like the truth or something, it's like, something that people can take on with their lives.
Yeah.
That's when we connect as people.
Yeah.
You know?
And then you have those jokes right in the middle. Like yesterday, I was on the plane and I was thinking the world's three most competitive environments: the Olympics, Wall Street, and getting off a plane. Do you know what I mean? Like, so there's truth in there, but it's also frosting. But then there's some things that are pure truth and they're really funny. Like,
Yeah, like I said something, what was it? Especially after playing with Austin, my son, we were like playing tag and he's running after me and giggling and I'm just getting away barely. And I thought, and I posted this, I believe on Instagram a while ago, I said, but I'm putting all this stuff, collecting it, because one day I want to put a book out there. But I remember thinking the best, most rewarding, gratifying form of exercise is playing with your children.
That's very true, right?
Yeah.
And we're designed to do that, like on a molecular level.
Totally true,
for
right?
generations.
Yeah. Like it's one thing if you went for a run for a mile, okay, you feel good, you feel great.
Yeah.
But if you were to spend like a half hour like playing tag with like one of your loved ones, like grandma or somebody. No, no, not grandma. That wouldn't be.
Rugby tackle grandma. Yeah.
But you know what I mean, though. Like that's
sacrifice a few hips.
Yeah. Come on, grandma. Let me win again. I used to play Scrabble with my mother-in-law, and it was great because, I mean, I know it's like later on they were like, yeah, my mom used to let you win, but it was fun because we'd play and with Scrabble she'd pick words like pig and dog, like these really, and I was like, oh, this is great. I got a good lucky. Now looking back, she was just letting me win, but it was actually, I like that the sitting across from a table drinking coffee and playing a board game with someone, that connection.
How have you found this too? You know the way you think, oh, for comedy when you're starting out, you think I have to lock myself in a room, I has to be quiet, and I'm gonna sit down with a pen, I'm gonna write. And you could try and write something for days, like something of value. You go out with your friends for an hour and a half, and you've written more comedy or a better bit in 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
First 10 minutes of meeting them. Because it's almost, that's kind of what comedy is it's hyperbole on top of hyperbole on top of hyperbole. So someone says something, then you tag it, then they tag it, and then your group will write you a minute bit within
Absolutely. I said something the other day. I said, here's a little. My wife actually. I stole this from my wife because my wife is great with the dieting and like she's definitely calloused that part of her brain of like, don't give in all the time, And me, I'm like, reward. It's midnight. I want a snack. And what am I doing? So she's like, you know what, Darren? She goes, oftentimes, do you ever notice I turn the kitchen light out? And I'm like, that's perfect. So I said, after 9 o'clock, my rule is I'm going to turn my kitchen light off. It tells my brain the cook has gone home, the kitchen is closed. Yeah. And then my buddies jump in with punchlines. They're like, yeah, but my brain tells me where the light switch is. And if that doesn't work, my brain tells me that the fridge has a light on it. I'm like,
exactly.
But it's we went to that concert. I was going to tell you, I'll circle back as we're wrapping the show up at the LA County Fair, and they had one of the bands that we saw was Kool and the Gang, and there was only one, maybe two original members, and there's I don't like that when you're seeing like 10 people up on stage or whatever, and there's like one or two original. You're like, what are we paying for? And so I made a joke with my wife. I go, hey, that's like not Kool and the Gang. We were riffing back and forth, and she made me laugh because I was talking about Salt and Pepper. That group Salt and Pepper.
Yeah.
Do, 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 do. Push it real good. I go, that'd be like if you went to see Salt and Pepper and it's really like salt and paprika, whatever, which is kind of funny. And then my wife was like, yeah, can you imagine like her partner's like not even age appropriate. It's like some 19-year-old girl that's like, twerk it. She's like up there twerking and then we came up with another joke where I said instead of salt and pepper, it's like salt substitute and pepper, which is
for the older people who like the party. Yeah.
And I was just like, I would not have come up with that by myself, but with another person, you're bouncing jokes off back and forth.
That happened to me at a wedding one time. I had to go to a wedding. Not biggest fan of going to weddings because it's an expensive endeavor. As a comedian, everything's expensive, but a wedding is
you're out there in the tent
expensive.
in the parking lot.
Yeah, so I go to the wedding and I see the groom break down crying at the altar. And I could see everyone around me going, oh, he's crying because he finally found love. But in my head, I'm thinking, nah, he's just crying because the wedding planning is finally over. And that's like one of my cleanest wedding jokes ever, you know what I mean? But you have to have those experiences.
Yes.
And you almost have to be not trying to be funny.
Yes.
Just observe.
Yes. And have your antennas up.
Yeah.
Your comedy antennas up. Or like, oh, that's okay. That's good. Like
so if speak the truth as much as you can because when you speak it, it pulls people in.
I love that.
And
truth has such a gravity.
Truth has a gravity so strong that when you speak it, it pulls people in. That's
love
like
that.
my favorite thing I've ever written because I know it's true, and it's about truth.
And it's pulling me in.
Inception.
We're gonna end this podcast. Where can we see you?
Anywhere. If you go online, Francis Cronin, anywhere you'll find me. And
the last thing I always ask my guests.
Yeah.
If there's a words of wisdom, something you've learned along the way, some tidbit of advice, a life hack, a way to save money, a lesson you've learned, something like that.
Yeah, I would say
share with us.
Well, that truth thing obviously wasn't good enough, Darren.
No, that was great. That was great. But I'm like, I know you're so good. You got a million of these. I mean, even if it's simple as like.
No, I got one. Yeah, I got one. I think, and this sounds like it's old hat, but just like. Every bit of suffering that you go through, know that the reward is coming on the other side, and it's almost like a wave. The suffering builds up in a wave, and it feels like it's going to crash on you. But what actually happens is, if you dive into that wave of suffering, it'll wash over you, and you swim out the other side, and it's bliss, dude. There's always a wave of pain just before a big break, always, and I've seen that a few times. So basically, when things are going well, work harder and watch what happens. The acceleration and exponential growth of your success is insane. I'm hoping to prove that.
I'm ready for that wave. Anyways, Frank, it's great to have you on the podcast. Thank you for being part of the Pocket Party podcast family.
Thank you, sir. It was an absolute privilege, Darren. Thank you, Darren Carter.
It was, man. And we're going to have you back on. And thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, Frank. Peace.
Peace.
All right, buddy.
So I think I dropped the ball a few times. Those Mexican stories, I didn't tell them well, but
no, they were fantastic. And I like all those. You know what I'm learning from you? Like you're taking these meetings with like what's it called again? Like the scooter people.
Scooter, yeah.
You're not afraid after the army, after owning these businesses. You're walking into these places and
because when I lived in the tent, it taught me that companies want to be associated with interesting things.
Absolutely.
So if you're doing something interesting, you get companies. And then, dude, when you get the companies, then everyone takes you for real. If you get one good company like Bird on board, I can literally approach Nike.
How cool was that, man? Gosh, that dude goes on adventures. He does it, man. Me, I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll stick around. I don't want to do those adventures. I like sleeping in a nice bed with air conditioning and, having my solution. I can take my contact lenses out and have clean hands. Yes. Anyways, you guys are awesome. Thanks for listening to the Pocket Party Podcast. If you could, give us 5 stars and a review on iTunes. If you could please do that. Share the link. That's totally free to do. You could just share the link. Tell your friends. I put it on Twitter. It's my pinned tweet. Go to my Twitter, @Darren Carter. Hit that retweet button. Boom. Anyways, until we talk again, you guys, be careful and don't hurt nobody. See you soon. Bye.
Everybody listen to Darren Carter. We all know he's the party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, then listen to the Pocket Party.